Welcome back, everybody, to another new comic book day. It is, of course, December 10th, new comic book day, number 60, dude. I do this video every single week. You guys know it. Bringing you new comic book hauls on Wednesdays, dude. You got a nice haul today with a nice extra that I'll show you at the end of the haul. And, of course, we have other comic book topics that we'll get to after we do the haul. But my pick of the week has to be Absolute Batman issue number 15, dude. Look at this. Look at this monstrosity, dude. We got Absolute Joker coming into the story. I think this one's like his origin, so we'll see what the heck's up with that. What makes him so disgusting looking? We have Assorted Crisis Events issue number 7. This one looks like a fun one. Little multiversal story. If you don't know about this series, it's like one of my favorite coming out of Image Comics. It's a horror sci-fi anthology. Dennis Camp's just killing it. Dennis Camp might be a name that you are recognizing if you've been reading the Ultimate series or if you've been reading Absolute Martian Manhunter, of course, over at DC. So Assorted Crisis Events, excellent sci-fi anthology there. Sticking with Image Comics, we have Geiger issue number 19. It looks like we'll get the Ashley Arden getting reintroduced into the story, maybe a little bit of a side quest featuring Ashley, so that'd be pretty interesting to see. One of my favorite characters in the Geiger universe. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 13. A big day for IDW, big day for TMNT as we get the new creative team jumping on. So in theory, this should be a good jumping on point for you guys. Now that Juan Ferreira and Jason Aaron have left the title, we have Jin Lewin Yang and Freddie E. Williams coming in to bring us the new era of the Turtles. Excited to see what they got. A couple more single issues like Transformers number 27. We have Robert Kirkman, Dan Mora, of course. They took over from Daniel Warren Johnson and Jorge Corona a couple issues ago. This series has been pretty good. Not my favorite out of the Energon universe. That'd be G.I. Joe is probably my favorite, but still good stuff with the Transformers title, of course. Ultimate Spider-Man number 23. I think this is the penultimate issue of Ultimate Spider-Man. Crazy stuff that this series is ending. You'd think Marvel would want to keep it going for a long time, but the Ultimate Universe is coming to an end, not before releasing Ultimate Wolverine issue number 12. Excellent stuff here from writer Chris Condon, and Capuccio is on the art. Really excited to see that. The last issue, something very tragic happened, dude. So Wolverine is really pissed, and he's going straight to the heart of the enemy. Should be a fun read there. And then, last but not least, Gotham by Gaslight, A League for Justice, issue number 6. Fun little Elseworld story. I think this concludes it. Might have a couple more to go. I'm not sure. But that bonus that I was teasing you guys with, we have DC versus Marvel. As you guys can see, pretty decently pricey for 25 bucks. But this is a first printing. They did all the research for me in the shop. They saw that this is a first printing from 1996. So really excited to have this in the collection. I have it in like the Omni formats and all that stuff. But got to get the first printing DC versus Marvel. Pretty exciting stuff. You never know when they'll reprint this stuff again, you know what I mean? Might be a present for my brother for Christmas, or I might just keep it, dude. Who knows? Anyways, that's what we got. New comic book day for December 10th, of course. Really enjoying doing these videos for you guys every single week. But of course, that's not the end of the new comic book day video, because I'm also talking about, speaking of crossovers, like the DC versus Marvel. In this video, I'm also doing a topic on the Superman, Spider-Man announcements that DC has made over the last couple days. So we'll talk about every creative team, all the different, characters crossing over from Marvel and DC. And then we talk about all the variant covers as well. And at the tail end of this video, the last topic is all about Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, my favorite creative duo in the comic book game. Breaking down some of my favorite stories of theirs and some of the stuff that I haven't read from theirs yet. But that's what we got. That's what we got for New Comic Book Day, December 10th. As always, let me know what you guys are picking up, what your pick of the week is. Thank you guys for watching, and use the chapter down below. I'll see you guys in next week's New Comic Book Day video. A couple months ago, DC and Marvel crossed over for the first time in a really long time when they released Deadpool, Batman, and then a couple months later released Batman and Deadpool. Each story also included a bunch of crossovers with other characters as well, and I thought it was a pretty fun time. I thought the DC side of it was a little bit better than the Marvel side, but I thought they were both pretty fun. Anyways, it looks like Marvel and DC are continuing the crossovers into next year when they're going to release Superman, Spider-Man number 1. It's going to be kind of the same thing in that they'll include a lot of different pairings of different creatives and also different characters from each respective universe. They also have a slew of comic book variant covers as well. So in this video, we're going to break it down. What are the crossovers? What are the creative teams on each crossover? And then we're going to go look at the different variant covers as well to get a sense of what's coming down the pipe in March of 2026. So it looks like the first story, the headline story here, Superman, Spider-Man, as I see here highlighted, Mark Waid and Jorge Jimenez. This is just genius, right? Mark Waid, no stranger to writing Superman. I'm not sure if he's written a Spider-Man story, but then he's paired with Jorge Jimenez, one of the hottest comic book, artists in the game right now. At least over on the DC side, he's just killing it on the main Batman title. It says here, Clark Kent and Peter Parker are going to chase the same dangerous mystery, one tied to the villainous machinations of Brainiac and Dr. Octopus. Naturally, their investigation quickly turns into full-blown superhero crisis once Superman and Spider-Man step into the spotlight. So the fact that we have Brainiac and Dr. Octopus teaming up, that makes total sense. I could see those two hanging out, from time to time. Makes a lot of sense to me. And it looks like all the other pairings have been announced. So let's get into it. Let's start off with Tom King and Jim Lee doing a Lois Lane and Mary Jane Watson story. So that's going to be pretty fun. We know that Tom King currently doing, the ongoing Wonder Woman series, doing a lot of stuff over at DC. Jim Lee is doing a lot more interiors recently. He's supposed to be like the CCO of DC, but he's palling around doing some interior artwork from time to time. And it looks like they're doing a Lois Lane, Mary Jane Watson story. The two leading ladies, right, of Superman and Spider-Man. So it makes a lot of sense that they would cross over. That should be a pretty fun one. Although, I kind of wish that a woman would be writing this story. So that's kind of weird, I guess. But, whatever. Tom King, Jim Lee, we'll see what they got. Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber are revisiting Jimmy Olsen with a Carnage twist. So I just recently read Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber's Jimmy Olsen's story, and it was really good. Excellent stuff. Really wacky, like really wacky. So it makes sense that, my prediction is that Jimmy Olsen is going to get the Carnage symbiote attached to him, right? And that's just going to be wacky, man. So Matt Fraction, Steve Lieber, Matt Fraction killing it over on the main Batman title, but still able to do some real fun, wacky stuff. Jimmy Olsen with a Carnage twist, that should be pretty cool. Sean Murphy is doing a Superboy Legion story with Spider-Man 2099. Now, I don't know too much about Spider-Man 2099. I think he's cool, you see him in a couple of the movies appearances, like the recent Across Spider-Verse or whatever. And I don't know too much about Superboy Legion, or really just the Legion of superheroes in general. I want to know more about them. I get little hints, here and there in the Superman title, but have not read an ongoing Legion series or a mini-series for that matter. But actually, I haven't even read Sean Murphy's Batman White Knight stories. So I don't know if I've read anything by Sean Murphy. This one is a complete going into it, this one blind, when Sean Murphy, Superboy Legion, and Spider-Man 2099. Gail Simone and Belen Ortega are bringing together Power Girl and Punisher. That's pretty fun. Both their names start with a P. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but they're also two gruff kind of characters, so it makes sense that they would, they got the same kind of personality, I feel, right? So Power Girl, Punisher, Gail Simone just killing it, and then Belen Ortega doing that Trinity Daughter Wonder Woman series with Tom King. I think she's got a really cool art style, so excited to see Power Girl and Punisher teaming up. Christopher Priest and Daniel Sampere, which is a pretty interesting pairing. They're going to be doing a Superman Prime and a Spider-Man during the Black Suit era. So that makes sense. Superboy Prime loves reading comic books. Makes sense that he would want to go back to Spider-Man's most seminal moment when Spider-Man gets the black suit. So that should be pretty fun. Greg Rucka and Nicholas Scott, they're bringing us a rivalry between the Daily Planet and the Daily Bugle. Now, Greg Rucka and Nicholas Scott, I think they're currently doing a series called like Cheshire and Cheetah Rob the Justice League or something like that, which I've heard is really good. I haven't checked it out, but I heard it's really good. Makes sense they're doing a Daily Planet, Daily Bugle kind of face-off story. I also think that Greg Rucka did that Lois Lane story a while ago, right? I haven't read that one either, but makes sense that Greg Rucka would want to stay in that kind of, corner of the DC universe. And Jeff Lemire and Rafa Sandoval bringing us a heartfelt flashback centered on Pa Kent and Uncle Ben. That one guaranteed to break your heart. Makes sense. You want someone's heart to be broken, you call up Jeff Lemire and he'll write you a story to do just that. Rafa Sandoval doing that
Superman Unlimited series. I don't know if he's still on that, but I think he's got a really cool art style. It'll be interesting to see him mixing it up with Jeff Lemire's writing. So that's what we got. That's the main story, the different creative team breakdowns. Next up, we'll go over the variants that you can find as well. It looks like this is going to be standard edition is going to be $7.99, and the cardstock variants extra dollar will be $8.99, and this will come out on March 25th, 2026. So looking forward to that at the tail end of March. New crossover, and yeah, let's get into the variants you can find. So this is on the main DC article. I like the way they broke down their variants, right? So first up, we've got Daniel Sampier and Tamu Mori. They're doing that variant for the black suit Spider-Man with Superboy Prime. That's sick. That looks pretty cool. We have a Jim Lee, Scott Williams, and Alex Sinclair doing a nice Superman and Spider-Man, kind of inspired by Jim Lee's other, he has some famous pieces of work where the superheroes are just standing on a building looking like that. So that's cool to have Spider-Man in the mix. That one is probably a must get. We have Art Germ variants, of course. We have Silk and Supergirl. That's pretty fun. We have a Raphael Albuquerque. I think Raphael has a really cool style. So it's cool seeing Spider-Man, his take on Spider-Man, and Superman. They're just flying through. We also have, oh, what's that guy's name? One of the clones. I don't remember that guy's name, but he's fighting the Superman Red Sun. So that's cool, and that's from Dave Johnson. We have a DNA cover as well. People go crazy for the DNA covers. Superman and Spider-Man there. I kind of like that older look for Superman. That's kind of cool. With that, that's like a Kingdom Come sort of like a Superman symbol, right? That's a pretty cool cover from DNA. We have a Gabriel Del Otto cover here. Who is that? Okay, that's Black Suit Superman with Black Suit Spider-Man. That's sick. That's one of the coolest ones we've seen. Michael Janine, he's doing, looks like Spider-Man is punching Lex Luthor. And then we also have Superman dodging a pumpkin bomb from Green Goblin. That's pretty sick, seeing some of the villains as well. Power Girl and Black Cat from David Tolosky. I love David Tolosky, really cool style. I like the whites that David Tolosky uses, like the wispy kind of look. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Interesting that it's not a Power Girl Punisher as we see in the pages of the comic, but that's all right. We got Black Cat and Power Girl on the cover there. Clayton Crane is the last one we're talking about, and that is another Superman and Spider-Man flying through the sky. Gotta be honest, not my favorite out of the bunch, but that's what we got, man. You know, before you know it, Marvel will be announcing their side of the crossover. So Spider-Man and Superman will have a new set of creative teams and pairings to talk about. New set of comic book character crossovers as well, and a whole new set of variant covers. So when that's announced, we'll be going over it right here on the channel. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think about Superman and Spider-Man crossing over, and I'll catch you in the next one. One of my favorite comic book creative teams of all time has got to be Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips. So in this video, we're gonna be breaking down this pairing, everything that I own of them, and then we'll talk about what I've read, what I haven't read yet. But it's all the same, man. If you're trying to get into Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips stories, you gotta pick up Criminal #1. This was released last week. You don't have to read anything prior before picking this up. This is a great introduction into the Criminal universe, getting you ready for the Criminal show coming out on Amazon Prime soon. And yeah, let's look at this big old stack I've got. So we're gonna get through this, hopefully get through it pretty quickly, and hopefully this give you guys a good idea of what to read if you're looking to get into Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips stuff, because they really are my favorite comic book duo in the game. But let's start off with this Criminal #1, man, because I really think it's a great introduction. So it's just a story featuring Ricky Lawless. This is one of the characters in Criminal. Criminal's got a ton of characters, but the Lawless family is a big part of the Criminal universe. And this is just a heist gone wrong. So like I said, you don't need to read anything previous to this. You can just pick this up and enjoy a Criminal story, you know, set in the Criminal universe featuring Ricky Lawless, and get a great sense of what Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips are all about. It's this crime and noir, people making bad decisions, getting the, you know, guns shooting sometimes and heists going on. You got to get a getaway driver and stuff like that, right? So if you're into that, I like movies typically, like Goodfellas, right? Like mob movies. Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips are definitely giving you flavors of that all the time. And this is a great example of it. And this Criminal #1. In the back, it includes a lot of really helpful back matter. So this is a breakdown of the entire world of Criminal, introducing you to some of the characters you might meet in the world. They also have some, you know, like some fun little cartoons from the set of Criminal. We have an RPG Criminal, like a Criminal RPG module that Kieran Gillen put together in the very back, so if you're into that as well. And then some more cartoons as well. But this is all of their releases. Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, all the stuff that they've released. So let's get into it, man. Criminal has got to be my favorite thing that they've released, probably besides Fatale. So Fatale is the story of Josephine. She can't die. She lives forever and she never ages. And she also has the power to control men, kind of make them do her bidding. And the entire story is about her. It's kind of like an anthology story. So it's Josephine in the 70s. It's her in the early, 1900s or whatever. And it just goes through Josephine's life as she goes from guy to guy, ruining their lives essentially. And all the while she's being chased by this cult. They're trying to chase down Josephine and get the power back or use Josephine as a sacrifice to do whatever. They're like an evil cult. And Josephine is one of my favorite comic book characters of all time. And I thought Fatale was just a fun ride all throughout. It's that criminal stuff I like, the crime and noir, but it's got like a little bit of a horror sort of slant to it. So I think that you gotta read Fatale. I've not read The Fade Out yet, so I gotta read The Fade Out. I think it takes place in the Hollywood. It's kind of like that private detective kind of era. So I gotta read The Fade Out at some point. I've heard it's really good. That's the great thing about Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, man. They have so much stuff that even as much as I've read, there's still a lot more to go, and it's just always a joy to read some Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips stuff. Like Incognito. I have this, lucky to have this hardcover. If you guys wanted to read this story, I think it's kind of harder to find, but it was originally printed under a Marvel imprint. They were trying to do something like Vertigo. And this story is all about this dude. I think his name is like Zach Overkill. He used to be a super villain back in the day with his twin brother. Something went wrong. He had to go into witness protection essentially. So this guy is working with the government. They're giving him a drug that suppresses his powers, so he's not able to have any powers anymore. One day though, when he's working his dead end, white collar job, he decides to take this drug, another drug, and it cancels out the drug that the governments are giving him. So now he has his powers back, and what is he gonna do with them? And he just goes on this crazy adventure, right? So that's what Incognito is all about. This guy from back in the day used to be a villain, now he's trying to be a superhero in a world filled with supervillains. Incognito is really good. This is up there for me. It's got to be like a top three out of Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips stuff. You also can read Reckless. The story is about Ethan Reckless. There are 5 releases, I believe. Yeah, 5 releases in this Reckless series. I've only read the first 2. And the story about Ethan Reckless, he's a guy that, if you need something done, you need someone's head bashed or whatever, or you need someone to go in and investigate some stuff, Ethan Reckless is the guy to call. He can get it done for you. I like the Ethan Reckless character a lot. More of that crime and noir sort of flavor, but I think that the time frame that takes place in like the 70s, right, is a really cool time period. And Reckless is really good. You can read it in these hardcovers. Beautiful, beautiful hardcovers. And then, like I said, there's 5 releases of that. I've not read Scene of the Crime yet. As you guys see, I was lucky to pick this up at my comic book shop for a pretty good price. It wasn't the cover price, I'll tell you that, but nice hardcover here. Not read Scene of the Crime yet. I believe this is their first ever collaboration. I'm not sure. Maybe they did this before Criminal. I don't know, but have not read Scene of the Crime yet. Got to do it. Night Fever is all about this dude who he's living like a boring life. He's not too into it. He goes overseas to do like a work trip. He's like a writer or something like that. And at night he starts walking around the city and he follows someone into this nightclub, and his night just gets crazier from there. So it's all about this guy who typically like wouldn't make these decisions, but he kind of like, gets set into like a different persona almost. And he starts doing all this crazy stuff that he would never do previously. And he gets caught up in this crazy situation, I guess I'll say. So Night Fever is really good. A very unique read, different from their other releases, but another Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips classic, again in this nice hardcover format. I have read House of the Unholy. Houses of the Unholy. This one was all about this girl who had a part in the kind of devil scare back in the day, like when all the schools were cracking down and all the kids were saying, yeah, all the teachers are, possessing me or sacrificing me to the devil. I forgot the Satanic Panic, right? So that era, she had a part in it, and it's her way in the future, and it's kind of the ramifications of being a part of the Satanic Panic. This guy who is, it looks like all the kids who were involved in Satanic Panic are ending up dead, I believe, if I remember correctly, and so she gets involved in that kind of conspiracy. What the heck's going on? Why are all these kids dying? Are they coming after me next, sort of thing? So Houses of the Unholy, another great read from Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips. I've not read Bad Weekend. Is this part of Criminal? I don't know. So maybe I've read this if it was already included in a Criminal hardcover. I'm not sure. Same kind of thing with My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies and Cruel Summer. So again, not too sure where these fit in the Criminal universe. Are they separate on their own? Are they not included in any hardcovers? I'm not sure. But at some point, I would like to read these as well. Kill or Be Killed. Not read Kill or Be Killed. I think it's all about this dude who makes a deal with the devil that if he goes out and kills people, then he won't die himself. Something like that. And this is included in 4 different trade paperbacks. I have them all. I'm lucky to have it. I was thinking about getting the compendium though, so I might upgrade at some point to the compendium. But again, another great Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips read. People tell me all the time that this one is a little bit more detailed than Sean Phillips would normally do because he was doing it digitally. So he has the ability to add in a lot more pencil lines that than he normally would. So I haven't read Kill or Be Killed yet, like I was saying. Gotta read it at some point, but I've heard it's really good. People say it's like up there in terms of Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips stories. 2 more to talk about. We got Pulp, the Process Edition. You can find this in a trade paperback, but the Process Edition is really, really for fans of Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips. The story itself is about this cowboy, right? From back in the day in the Old West, he's a criminal. He's going over and doing heists and stuff like that on the railroads, robbing people. And then a couple years later, right, he's older, he's not so much a cowboy anymore, he's living in New York City trying to be a writer, and he gets involved in a new kind of heist going on, right? So it's kind of like, as soon as I'm out, they pull me back in kind of thing. And this is interesting because the Process Edition includes all the scripting and the penciling before you get to the actual story. So if you've ever wanted to see the behind the scenes on how Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips come up with the story from start to finish, you guys got to check out the Pulp Edition. It's got the all the scripting, all the penciling, as Sean Phillips is interpreting Ed Brubaker's script, and then it includes some of the coloring process as well from Sean Phillips' son Jacob Phillips. So it was a very interesting read. You can read how the story came together, and then some of the coloring, like I was saying, and then it gets into the finished book. So it has the entire pulp read in the very back, but the very front is how they came up with the story and coming up, putting the whole story together. So really interesting read for Pulp, the Process Edition. Last but not least, we'll talk about Criminal. We talked about it at the very front, very beginning. Criminal is their magnum opus. Everyone says it's their favorite crime noir story. They kind of set the benchmark, the modern day benchmark for how to tell a crime noir story. Criminal is really good. I've read Deluxe Edition number 1 and 2. And I'm somewhere in the 3rd. I stopped reading it at some point for some reason. So I got to get back to it and finish it, because then I'll be all caught up with Criminal, except for The Knives. So I want to read the Criminal Deluxe Edition number 3, and then I can finish The Knives and get ready for all the Criminal stuff they have coming next year. So yeah, that's my plan for future Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips stuff, man. But yeah, check it out. Got a ton of Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips. They're some of my favorite comic book duo in the game. Love going back and reading their stuff. Love collecting everything I can Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips. So just wanted to share some of my favorite stuff from some of my favorite comic book duo in the game. Definitely check out Criminal number 1 if you're looking to get into Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips stuff, and it'll set you on such a fun journey, man. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and read more comics.